Snow mixed with rain as the ambulance braked hard in front
Danke,
of the
dass Sie mich
military
gerettet
hospital in
haben.
Wola. The siren fell silent, but the real tension was only beginning. It was Wednesday, late evening, the kind of evening when Warsaw feels tired of its own breath. Inside the emergency ward, chaos lived side by side with routine. Doors swung open, paramedics rushed in with a wounded man wearing a naval uniform. The rank of captain shone clearly on his shoulder. His left arm looked terribly swollen, dark, almost lifeless. Bandages were soaked with blood. The fingers were losing color faster than anyone wanted to admit. Injury during training in hell, one of the paramedics reported quickly. Severe pressure, circulation disrupted. His condition is getting worse. The attending physician, Dr. Andrzej Rudzki, glanced at the arm only once. That was enough. Prepare the operating room. Possible amputation. Captain Marek Krajewski did not scream. He breathed in short, controlled bursts, like a man trained to command his pain, but the tension in his jaw betrayed him. Young resident doctors gathered around the bed, ambitious, curious, hungry for experience. For them, this was a case. For him, it was his entire life. The curtain beside the treatment station shifted slightly. A young nurse stepped inside carrying a tray of medication. Quiet, almost invisible. Her name was Anna Maj. Her uniform coat was too large, her hair tied quickly, her face calm. The kind people pass in a hallway without looking twice. "What are you doing here?" Dr. Rudzki snapped. "This is a procedure zone." "I brought the pain relief kit," she answered softly, without resistance. One of the residents smirked. The new one. Probably lost. Then Captain Krajewski opened his eyes. He looked at her and froze. His breath caught. His pupils widened, as if he had seen someone who should not exist in this place. Slowly, with visible effort, he raised his healthy hand and gave a precise military salute. He whispered. "It's you." Silence fell across the room. The monitors continued beeping, but no one seemed to hear them anymore. Anna stepped back slightly. Her hand trembled. "Please don't do that," she said quietly. "You're injured." "You saved me in Fallujah," he whispered. "You carried me out under fire. Don't let them take my arm." Someone scoffed in disbelief. "The nurse?" a resident muttered. Dr. Rudzki narrowed his eyes. "Captain, let's focus on medical reality." Anna looked at the examination monitor. Something in her expression changed. The calm faded. Focus replaced it. "That isn't tissue death," she said suddenly. "It's compression. It can be reversed." The doctors exchanged looks. "That's impossible." The captain stared at her. "You always said impossible doesn't exist." "Lekarza wyśmiali nową pielęgnię." Anna tightened her grip on the tray. Images long buried in silence stirred again inside her mind. "Give me 3 minutes," she said, "or he will lose that arm forever." Rudzki opened his mouth to protest, but Captain Krajewski gave a small nod. "I take responsibility," he said quietly. Outside the hospital windows, the wind struck the glass. The Warsaw night seemed to be listening. Anna Maj stood over the treatment table. Her hands trembled only at first. Then the movements changed. Precise. Controlled. As if her body remembered something her mind had tried to bury for years. "I need a fascia incision kit," she said calmly. "We don't have that here," one of the residents replied quickly. "That's a surgical procedure." "Then give me a scalpel and a tourniquet," Anna said. The resident hesitated. He glanced at Dr. Rudzki. The doctor remained silent, torn between protocol and the strange authority that had filled the room. Captain Krajewski never took his eyes off Anna. "Let her do it," he said suddenly. Everyone turned toward him. "If anyone can save my arm, it's her." Anna took the instruments. She disinfected the skin carefully. Her breathing slowed. The room watched in complete stillness. Her movements were fast, rhythmic, almost like a dance practiced somewhere far away from hospital walls. The scalpel touched the skin, one cut, then another. Beneath the surface, the tissue pulsed under intense pressure. For a moment, a memory flashed through her mind. The smell of burned gunpowder, the cries of wounded soldiers, her own voice shouting into a radio. "I have a man with lung trauma. I need evacuation now." The captain hissed in pain, but he did not pull away. Anna did not look up. Her focus narrowed to the swollen arm. She released the pressure slowly, carefully. Around them, the doctors stood frozen. Even the heart monitor seemed quieter. And then something changed. Blood began to flow again, at first slowly, then stronger. Color returned to the captain's fingers. A pulse appeared, weak, but alive. "My God," one resident whispered. "She actually did it." Dzhardrutsky stepped closer as if approaching something unreal. He looked at the incision, then at the captain. His brow furrowed. "That's impossible. Even I didn't attempt that." "Because it wasn't part of your training," Anna answered quietly, "but it was part of mine." The room fell silent again. Heavy, like the stillness before distant artillery. Captain Krajewski exhaled deeply. His face relaxed for the first time since arriving. "I knew it was you," he said. "In Iraq, they called you Fox." Anna froze. Only a handful of people had ever known that nickname, and most of them never came back from the sands of Al-Assad. "I'm not her," Anna said softly. "Not anymore." "But your hands still remember," the captain replied. Dr. Rutsky stepped closer, studying her with new eyes. "Who are you, Nurse Maj?" Anna removed her gloves slowly. "Just a nurse," she said. Then she stepped away from the table. "And now it's your turn, doctor. He's stable. Please finish the procedure." Without waiting for an answer, she turned and walked toward the door. Someone behind her murmured in disbelief, "She's not from this world. She's a battlefield medic." The corridor outside felt cold. A draft carried the smell of disinfectant and cheap machine coffee. Anna leaned against the wall. Only then did her hands begin to shake for real. She knew something had just changed. What she had done could not be erased. Not here. Not in civilian life. And somewhere very close. Someone was already waiting who would remind her who she truly was. Anna tried to steady her breathing, but the echo of that night in Fallujah pounded in her temples stronger than ever. She rested her forehead against the cold wall and closed her eyes. For a moment she thought she could return to her shift, return to being invisible. Then she heard footsteps, heavy, confident, with the unmistakable sound of reinforced boots striking the floor. "Anna?" The voice was low and calm, but it carried memories she had spent years trying to escape. She turned slowly. Standing there was Major Tomasz Kaleta, her former commander from the Special Forces medical team. He looked almost the same, short hair, a face lined with years in operations, and those same cold tactical eyes. "I thought you left," she whispered. "I did," he admitted, "but not from the memories of the people you saved, and not from yours." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Around them, the hospital moved like a living machine. Monitors beeped. Doctors talked. Beds rolled down the corridor. But between them, there was a silence that time itself could not break. "I saw what you did in there," Kaleta finally said. "You know this could cost you your job." "I know," Anna answered, "but I'd rather break protocol than watch him lose his arm." Kaleta nodded slowly. "That's exactly why you were the best." Anna looked at him with bitterness. "Were. Past tense. The past doesn't change the fact that here I'm just a nurse everyone treats like a shadow." "Not everyone," he replied. "Krajewski recognized you. He saluted you like a soldier salutes a hero." Anna lowered her eyes. "And yet everyone else thinks that I walked into the wrong room. That I'm just the quiet new nurse." "Because it's easier for them," Kaleta said with a faint smile. "Their world is simple. Doctors and nurses, civilians and soldiers, those who give orders and those who follow them. You don't fit into any of those categories, and that frightens them." At that moment, a doctor in a white coat stepped around the corner. She frowned when she saw the major. "Excuse me, this area is restricted to staff." Kaleta didn't even introduce himself. He simply turned back to Anna. "I need to talk to you, outside this building." "Now?" "It won't take long." They left through a rear exit that led to the parking lot. The air was sharp and cold. Snow drifted sideways like tiny needles in the wind. Kaleta walked toward a parked black SUV. Someone else was sitting inside. When Anna opened the door and stepped in, she froze. In the back seat sat a woman in uniform bearing the insignia of the General Staff, Brigadier General Marta Leszczynska. "Major." Anna nodded automatically. "I'm not here officially," the general said quietly. But the matter we're dealing with runs deeper than you think. Anna studied her carefully. What is this about? Leszczynska took a slow breath. Captain Krajewski is not a coincidence. He was under observation. Someone tried to silence him. And by saving his arm, you may have uncovered more than you realize. The cold outside no longer mattered. The world around Anna seemed to slow. You're telling me this wasn't just an injury? Coletta looked directly into her eyes. We're telling you that you've just been pulled back into something you spent years trying to escape. And we don't yet know how deep it goes. For a moment the car filled with silence. Then one question hung in the air. Did she still have the courage to become who she once was? Anna remained seated in the SUV, feeling the familiar world she had built for years beginning to fracture into pieces she recognized all too well. The military, silence, hidden truths, was returning. Despite the life she had carefully built, the life of a quiet nurse, invisible in a crowded hospital corridor. Why now? She finally asked, looking directly at General Leszczynska. Because Captain Krajewski was never supposed to arrive at a civilian hospital, the general replied. He was meant to be transported to a military facility in Gdynia, but someone changed the order. Someone who didn't want his story to see daylight. Anna frowned. So someone inside the military? Coletta glanced at the rearview mirror. Maybe. Or someone outside the structure who still has access to military systems. You saving his arm changed the equation. And someone noticed. Anna felt a heavy weight settle in her stomach. This was no longer about a medical mistake, no longer about a wounded arm. It was about a secret that had been meant to die with Captain Krajewski's limb. I only did what had to be done, she said quietly. And sometimes doing the right thing comes with a price, the general replied. People who operate between loyalty and secrecy don't like surprises. Anna's voice hardened, and I don't want to be part of that world again. For the first time in years, her tone carried anger. I left it behind. Too many people never came back. Leszczynska nodded slowly. I understand. But if you turn away now, Captain Krajewski might not survive the week. He's in danger, and you may be the only one who can protect him, Coletta added quietly. After what you did in that room tonight, you're not invisible anymore. Anna clenched her hands. The old feeling returned. Responsibility. Heavy. Like a bulletproof vest after 14 hours on patrol. She exhaled slowly. What do you want me to do? For now, return to the ward, the general said. Act like everything is normal. But watch carefully. Notice who enters his room, who speaks with him, who studies his files. We will handle the rest. And if his life is threatened again? Anna asked. Coletta answered immediately. Then do what you always did. Save people, like the fox. The nickname struck her harder than she expected. It was more than a call sign. It was a life she had buried. The SUV slowly pulled away from the hospital. Anna returned through the same back entrance she had used before. No one stopped her. No one noticed that during this single night, she had stopped being just another nurse. The hallway outside Captain Krajewski's room was empty, but something in the air felt different. The smell, the silence. Her battlefield instincts awakened again. Then she saw it, something that made her heart beat faster. On the floor beneath the monitoring station lay a severed cable, a monitoring wire, the metal inside exposed. Someone had cut it. Someone had already tried to interfere with the medical equipment, and it was no accident. Anna crouched slowly, as if every movement had to be measured. She touched the cut cable. The plastic was still warm. This had not happened long ago. Someone had been here only moments earlier. Her heart accelerated, but her face remained calm. She stood up, straightened her coat, and entered Captain Krajewski's room with the neutral expression of someone carrying routine medication. She had to act. Inside, the room was dim. The soft light of a night lamp spilled across the pale hospital walls. The captain lay motionless with his eyes closed. But he was not asleep. She knew from the rhythm of his breathing. Light, alert. I already know you didn't come here just with antibiotics, he said quietly. Your footsteps change when something is wrong. The monitoring cable was cut, Anna answered softly. Someone tried to disable the alarm system. Krajewski opened his eyes, his gaze sharpened instantly, like a soldier under fire. Who? I don't know yet, but it wasn't an accident. Amon. He swallowed slowly. I didn't think they would reach me here. I thought I had more time. Time for what? He hesitated, then slowly reached toward the bedside cabinet. With difficulty, he pulled out a small envelope, yellowed, creased, as if it had traveled a long way. These are documents from Helbertron, he said, reports that were supposed to disappear. Someone high up wanted them destroyed. I kept them. Anna opened the envelope carefully. Inside were photographs, maps, medical reports, and a sheet that looked like a list of names. Most of the names had been blacked out, but one stood out clearly. Lieutenant Andrzej Spakovsky. Anna closed her eyes briefly. She knew that name. He had disappeared during an operation in 2017. Official cause: drowning. Unofficial rumors told a different story: betrayal, an abandoned unit. What does he have to do with this? She asked. He gave the order to withdraw without cover, Krajewski said quietly. 3 men died. The 4th was your partner. Anna froze, her breath stopped. The memory returned instantly. Sand, dust, a motionless body, her hands covered in blood. For years she had tried to separate that moment from reality. Why are you telling me this only now? Because until today, I wasn't certain, he said. But when I saw you again, I knew you deserved the truth. She looked at him, pain hidden behind control. You think truth will heal anything? No, he said quietly, but it might give you a choice. Without truth, you're only a shadow of yourself. And I remember you differently. Footsteps suddenly echoed in the hallway. Fast. Someone was approaching the room. Anna slid the documents back under the captain's pillow and stepped toward the door. A paramedic rushed inside, slightly out of breath. Sorry, I'm looking for Nurse Maj, he said. You're needed urgently in the ER. Anna frowned. I didn't request any consultation. The paramedic turned pale, but the call came from the chief physician's internal line. Anna exchanged a glance with Krajewski. Both of them understood instantly. Someone was trying to pull her out of the room. A trap. Anna waited several seconds until the paramedic's footsteps faded down the corridor. Then she moved to the door and gently pushed it, almost closed. Not locked, just enough to control who entered. Her palms were damp, but her movements were precise again. Something inside her had awakened, something that had slept for years beneath layers of silence and pretending. Captain Krajewski pushed himself slightly up on the bed, wincing with pain. You know there's no turning back now, he said quietly. I know, Anna replied, but if they're willing to sabotage equipment in a hospital, it means they fear the truth more than we fear them. She pulled the envelope back from under the pillow and studied the photographs again. One image made her pause. In the corner of the picture, beside Lieutenant Spakovsky, stood another young officer, a boyish face, but eyes that had already seen too much. That man, Anna whispered. He was the radio operator for my partner's unit. His name was Pavel Majewski. He disappeared a month after the operation, no trace. These documents aren't just a report from hell, Krajewski said. They're part of something bigger. Someone has been hiding illegal actions, orders that were never meant to exist. And you carried this all this time? I didn't trust anyone, he answered. But when I saw you, I remembered that among those who survived, you never betrayed anyone. Anna closed the envelope and slipped it into her bag. We have to secure this. If they find it, you won't be the only one in danger. Do you know anyone outside the system? The captain asked. Anna hesitated. Yes. My former field chaplain. He's now a priest in Rzeszów, but he still has contacts in places that matter. Krajewski nodded slowly. That's a start. At that moment, Anna's phone vibrated in her pocket. Not a call, just a single notification. From a blocked number. 3 words. They started looking for you. Her stomach tightened. She looked at the captain. We need to get you out of here. Tonight. I can barely move, he muttered. I know a route through the old storage wing and archives, she said. No one uses that corridor anymore. If we're caught, I'll say it's a medical decision. Emergency evacuation for suspected sepsis. I'll have a 5-minute window. Between 3 and 3:05. That's when both the nurses and security guards change shifts. The captain tried to stand but groaned. Anna quickly helped him sit up. "Do you really want to do this?" he asked. "You know what it means if they catch you." She met his eyes. Her voice was calm. "I lost everything the day my partner died. If I'm going to keep living, it has to be for something that matters." From outside came the sound of an elevator opening. Footsteps approached along the corridor. Time was running out. Anna reached into her bag and pulled out an old military tourniquet. A faded fill cross was stitched into the fabric. She slipped it into the pocket of her coat. "It's starting again," she whispered, and she knew that before this night ended, she would never again be just an invisible nurse. The hospital sank into that strange, muffled silence that comes between 2 and 3 in the morning. Even the monitors seemed to beat more quietly, as if they were afraid to disturb something. Anna used the moment. She changed into fresh protective clothing, slipped her ID badge into her pocket, pulled the hood of the sterile jacket over her head. Captain Krajewski sat in a wheelchair, a thick bandage wrapped around his arm. An IV bag hung from a mobile stand beside him. Across his knees lay a folded surgical drape, hiding the bag that now contained the documents. There was no fear in his eyes, only focus. Anna checked her watch. 3:01. "Now," she said softly. She pushed the wheelchair out into the hallway. The corridor was empty. The nurses' station stood dark. Shift change had begun. They turned into a narrow technical hallway used mostly by maintenance staff. Access required magnetic cards. Anna used an old military access pass she had kept for years. No one had ever asked why she still carried it. The door opened. A staircase led downward into the storage levels beneath the hospital. Dust covered the walls. The lights flickered. The air smelled metallic, damp, and faintly of old disinfectant. "This used to store equipment for a field surgical unit," Anna said quietly while pushing the wheelchair. "Now it's just a shadow of the old system. No one comes here." "You remember everything," Krajewski said. "You don't forget things you once used to save lives in the dark." They reached an old service door. Anna entered a code she had memorized years ago during military deployments. The lock responded with a soft click. Beyond it stretched a short corridor that ended at a loading ramp exit behind the hospital. To the left stood an empty transport cart. To the right, a sealed container for biological waste. "Just a few more minutes," Anna whispered, glancing at the camera above the door. "The system resets once a day at 04. Krajewski allowed himself a small smile. "You planned everything." "Almost everything," she replied, "except that we wouldn't be alone." And then it happened. A metallic slam tore through the silence like a blade. The door behind them closed. Anna turned sharply. A figure stood in the corridor. A man, dark jacket, hood pulled low over his face. In his hand was something that gleamed like a steel rod. "You shouldn't have dug into things that were meant to stay buried," he said calmly. "Who are you?" Anna asked, stepping slightly in front of the captain. "I used to be Lieutenant Spakowski," the man replied. "Today, I'm only a shadow of the system that's about to expose you." "So you're alive," Anna said. "And you?" he replied coldly. "You should have died with him that day instead of saving him." The words struck like a blow. Anna felt the anger she had buried for years rising inside her. Her body tensed, as if she were standing again in the dust of Fallujah with seconds to decide. "He died to save me," she said quietly. "And you're still alive, hiding in shadows and destroying anything that matters." Spakowski raised the steel rod slightly. "Give me the documents," he said. "Now. Maybe then you disappear quietly." Anna took half a step back. "No. No more silence." Krajewski tried to rise from the wheelchair, but she stopped him with a hand. There was something in her eyes now, the same thing soldiers once recognized on the battlefield. Limitless determination. "Before you hurt me," Anna whispered, "you should ask yourself one question. Are you ready to die for a lie?" Because she already knew the answer for herself. She was ready to die for the truth. Spakowski hesitated for only a fraction of a second. But Anna noticed. Those tiny slices of time were something she knew well from experience. Exactly that much time could decide who survived when a bullet cut through the air. She used the moment. Before the lieutenant could move, she reached into the pocket of her coat and pulled out the military tourniquet, not as a weapon, as a reminder. She threw it toward him. "Do you remember this?" she said firmly. "You carried one just like it when you let the others bleed out in the desert." Spakowski caught it instinctively, but his face tightened. Something flickered in his eyes. Not regret, guilt. That decision saved the rest of the unit, he growled. You only see death. I saw the balance. My partner wasn't a balance, Anna replied quietly. He was a man, your brother in arms. And you left him there. Spakowski stepped forward. But at that moment, Krajewski forced himself up from the wheelchair. He swayed from pain, yet he stood upright. Not another step, he said. You're finished. These documents are already outside the hospital. It was a bluff, but a strong one. Spakowski hesitated again. You're lying. Try me, Anna replied calmly. If you touch me, this material goes straight to the general staff and the media. For a moment, madness flashed in the lieutenant's eyes. Anger, hatred, but also fear. Years spent hiding in shadows had made him forget what it felt like to face someone with nothing left to lose. You think you're heroes, he sneered? No one will listen to you. You have nothing but words and memories. Anna stepped forward. We also have conscience, and the people we saved. Just then the door behind Spakowski burst open. 3 soldiers in Special Forces uniforms entered the corridor without a word. One of them wore command insignia. Lieutenant Andrei Spakowski, the oldest said, you are under arrest for treason, falsifying reports, and endangering medical personnel. The lieutenant went pale. He did not resist. He knew the game was over. Anna stepped aside, breathing slowly. Krajewski sank back into the wheelchair as exhaustion returned like a wave. One of the soldiers nodded to Anna, informal, but full of respect. You knew? She asked quietly. For 2 weeks, the soldier replied, but we had no proof. Only suspicion. We needed someone he trusted to break him. And you put us in danger for that? We knew that if anyone could survive an encounter with him, the soldier said, it would be you. Those words struck her harder than any shout, because they meant one thing. She had never been ordinary, and she never would be again. The soldiers led Spakowski away. When the door closed, silence returned to the corridor. But it was a different silence now, not the silence of fear, the silence that follows victory. I wanted to tell you something earlier, Krajewski said, struggling for breath. What? Your partner, before he died, gave me his dog tag. He told me if I survived, I had to return it to you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small steel tag. Anna took it in her hands. Her fingers trembled. Why now, she whispered. Because only now were you ready to hear the truth. Tears filled her eyes. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She only held the tag tightly and whispered something no one else could hear. For the first time in years, the war inside her finally began to end. Anna sat on the hospital roof wrapped in a thin work jacket. It was already after 4 in the morning. Warsaw was slowly waking up. Trams began sliding through the streets. Lights flickered on in the windows of old apartment buildings. The city returned to life as if nothing had happened, but something inside her had changed. Or perhaps something had finally been released. She no longer held her partner's dog tag like a relic. It rested in her palm now like a symbol. Not of pain, not of guilt, but of belonging. She heard footsteps behind her. She didn't turn around. She recognized that way of walking. Heavy, careful. Krajewski. I knew you'd be here, he said, sitting beside her. You always went to the roof when something weighed on you. Because only here do I feel like I can breathe, she replied. They sat in silence for a moment. The wind cut across their faces, but neither of them cared. They had endured worse things than the cold air of a Warsaw morning. You know, Marek said finally, when I arrived at the hospital, I thought it was the end. Not just for my arm, for everything. And what changed? Anna asked quietly. You. Your voice, your eyes. The same voice I remembered from the desert, over the radio during evacuation. No one ever said you'll live the way you did. Anna gave a small, bitter smile. And yet not everyone survived. Don't measure your worth by the ones you couldn't save, Mark said softly. Look at the ones you pulled out of hell. Even if it was only one person. Like me. She looked at him. His face was pale with fatigue, still marked by pain, but his eyes carried the light of someone who had regained more than his arm. He had regained hope. What happens now? She asked. Now, he said, with a tired smile. Now there will be investigations, committees, maybe even a media storm. But I still have my arm. My report survived, and someone believed me. Do you think they'll clear you? I don't know, he admitted. But if they don't destroy me, maybe others will finally see the truth. Anna stood and looked out across the city, and me? I don't know if I can go back to being just a nurse. You don't have to, Marek said. Maybe you're meant to be something more. That means war again, she replied quietly. Sometimes war isn't a minefield, Marek said. Sometimes it's a hospital ward, a government corridor, or your own conscience. Anna gave a faint, sad smile. In that case, the war inside me isn't over yet. But now you're not alone, he said. She turned to leave, but then her phone vibrated, a new message. Unknown number. 3 short sentences. Stop digging. Disappear. The next ones won't warn you. She showed Marek the screen. He nodded slowly. I expected that. They've started watching you. So what now? She asked. Now the real mission begins, he said. Because if someone wanted to silence her, it meant her voice had already become dangerous.